Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Virgo energy. And we're going to do just this kind of seeing what wants to come out and see what might be going on in Virgo energy. It might be more significant to people who are Virgo sun sign or have some Virgo placements in their astrological chart, but we all tap into Virgo energy, so therefore it affects us all. And Virgo kind of has to do with kind of what our long-term goals are and what our truth is. And we have our dualistic nature of free will, and we have our more worldly nature, so we could harness a more worldly Virgo energy and kind of be tilted a little bit more in favor of being about the world and a little more caught up in that stage of life about our career or relationships or stability, security, and some other people might be a little more tipped in favor of, we all want some of those things in our worldly nature, but some people are more curious about freeing themselves from things that manipulate them and how their more worldly nature and all those things manipulate them. So let's go see what's going on. We start out with this card not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the King of Pentacles. Virgo energy in the tarot is represented by the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles wants to become the King of Pentacles, and that could be, I will want to invest in my career, I want to grow and mature myself. The King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married suit of the deck, so it might wanting to be married. In high vibe, though, the King of Pentacles, I view it as Capricorn energy. So it's kind of that maybe really thinking, because the King of Pentacles is facing that way. So before they move forward, some people could really, whether they're male or female, because we can all think of ourselves as the King of Pentacles and present ourselves as the King of Pentacles, but emotionally, what is our truth, right? And the kings can represent how we do present ourselves in the world and action that we're taking in our life. Some people really are more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, and some people try to present themselves as being that, but they're really not, right? They're kind of more about themselves or more about the ego or the image or how it benefits them. Some people could be thinking about how they're going to move forward. What is my truth? And since I view this as Capricorn energy, shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil. The devil can talk about how we're more manipulated by these worldly things and more about ourselves and our fears and our insecurities and our lust and our greed and all those things, We could all keep doing what we've been doing, but high vibe Capricorn is freeing yourself from the devil. And we all tap into Capricorn energy and Virgo energy. What is our truth? So let's see what this card is. The Three of Wands. With the card not showing itself, it could be that people are kind of going out in the world, presenting themselves as a stable, grounded, emotionally kind of mature person. High vibe, the Pentacle, about truth and love. Some people are hiding they are more about themselves because the Three of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. Other people have seen the truth. I need to be less about myself. If I want the Three of Wands talks about I want my dream to come into reality. And I do have to grow up and mature myself. It isn't more about me. It isn't more about the world. It isn't more about the ego or the image or the status of it. If I have a dream and I want to be in more emotionally mature, just, fair, truthful, loving relationships, that's who I need to be. And right now, some people could be taking some time to invest in themselves, to grow and heal and mature themselves and really get clear about what their truth is. What's next? We have the Fool, kind of taking that leap of faith. And the Four of Cups. The reason is because of the Page of Swords. The high vibe people want to take that leap of faith, to take that cup of love. The Four of Cups is Cancer energy. I want to learn to love myself. And then the Page of Swords can be like our own inner child nature. And the Page of Swords is Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. I have a dream. I want justice. I want fairness. I want to align with learning to love myself, because if I don't, I do keep repeating certain patterns. Looking like for shadowy energy can be I look outside myself for the answer. I look to other people to love me. I look to other people to validate my worth and value. I could make my worth and value about these things I make my life about, or things I go indulge in to make me feel better. And high vibe people don't want to keep repeating a pattern. I've been there, I've done that. It didn't work out. And the Three of Wands not showing itself can be that people already invested in something that they thought their dream was going to come into reality with, and it didn't work out. And because people don't want to repeat that pattern, in their Virgo energy, they do that work within themselves, and it's our Virgo nature that gives us that truth. I need to see the truth of maybe what I wasn't seeing, because Virgo kind of looks at things that were hidden in the dark. What was I not seeing? Obviously, I wasn't seeing something, because I thought something was going to work out the way I wanted, and it didn't. And I don't want that to happen. You know, there's no guarantees in life, but I can certainly deal with the truth of it. Where did I need to heal and grow and mature myself? Where was I more caught up in the world, more caught up in myself? Maybe indulging myself in poor behavior, indulging other people in poor behavior. The whole thing is we come in contact with all these people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And we come in contact with all these other people to learn what their truth is. And we can have our idea of how we'd like our life to come into reality, our dream. But other people have their idea of the dream life. And sometimes their idea of the dream life is different than our idea. And their idea of what they think is just and fair, and if they want to be more just and fair, or if they really want to do love or not do love. Shadowy fire sign can be the people kind of like, I want to be in a relationship. I like being in relationships. But I'm not really inspired to invest in truth and love. I'll have sex with you. I'll enjoy it. I can be nice. I can be encouraging, supportive, and all that good stuff. And in a lot of ways, I can seem really loving, but they're not authentically invested in love, kind of at a core foundational level. That isn't really what drives them, motivates them. That's not their truth. So it's kind of like looking like love, quacking like love, but not really authentically motivated and inspired by love. And we've all gotten in some more mismatched relationships. We could have gotten in relationships with people, you know, who are more about themselves, more immature, more materialistic, more bossy, more controlling, weren't who they said they were, you know? And, you know, some of those things didn't work out. And we keep, that's like high vibe Virgo. If I learn the lesson I was meant to learn from all those life experiences, I don't give up on my dream. I just see things more clearly. I'm more enlightened to the truth. So some people have grown up and matured themselves. You know, in tarot, we have the pages, the knights, the kings, the queens. Some people have been at a knight stage. And in the stage, you know, in all four areas, we have the heart, the mind, the 3D world, and the creative passion nature. So when we were younger in the pages, we had to go on those journeys to learn all those lessons in those different areas. Once we kind of learned them all, then we maybe went to the night stage, and then we had to learn lessons again. More lessons at a different age level, kind of, in the heart, the mind, the 3D world, the creative passion nature. Some people, at least in their earth sign energy, because Virgo is earth sign energy, and so is Capricorn. that they have kind of grown up and matured themselves. And sometimes people are still pages in other areas because they didn't invest as much time and energy and effort into those things because they maybe weren't didn't think they were so important and weren't motivated and inspired to. So some people can be very smart because they invest in their air sign energy. Some people can be very emotionally mature because they invested a lot of time and energy to get to know themselves emotionally. Some people are very stable, have a lot of you know, things of the world that people could be attracted to. It could be your looks, it could be your physique, it could be your social clout, it could be money or status, and some people put a lot of work and effort into that, but they could be pages in some other areas, right? Some people reject their more creative, inspired nature. No, 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 like that could get me in trouble. I'm just going to focus on being practical or being grounded or conforming to the world, even, is kind of a more shadowy earth sign energy. And so, a lot of different stories there, but, and we'll kind of touch back on them in a minute. But the people who have learned these lessons in life and have gotten out of being more about themselves and have learned lessons from all their different life experiences and meeting all these different people and seeing what their truth is and realizing kind of what isn't their truth and what is their truth. High vibe people would have realized love is the answer. And that means not being more about myself or making these things of the world the most important thing, that love is what makes it all worthwhile. Just like, do I even want to stay in a job? Some people could be considering, besides considering who they want to be friends with and in more romantic relationships with and invest their time. The pentacles can kind of mean who we invest our time, energy, and effort into. Um, it could also be what job I want to stay in. Do I want to stay in the one I'm in? Or am I going to take that leap of faith, to take that cup of love, to kind of love and believe in myself? Because in my more inner child nature of having that more hopeful, believing spirit, I have a dream. So then we have the Two of Cups. And the reason that came out is because of the Ace of Swords. You know, some people are seeing the truth that, maybe before the Fool card is also Aries energy, but it's also Aquarius and Pisces, and kind of how we get caught up in ourselves, get caught up in the world, and all these things we want to go invest in the world that we are sure will make us happy. And, we can kind of be naive because if you're someone motivated and inspired by love, and that's, you know, you like to treat, you like to get along with people, and the people in your life that you have a more close relationship, you like being loving and nurturing and supportive to them. And, that's like your truth. Kind of maybe, it's kind of something we might more align with and know from the time we're young, kind of more. But then as people get older too, they can turn their back on that aspect of themselves. Like, nope, this is the most important thing, male or female. I got to conform to the world, make my life about the world. Maybe don't get in a career field I really love because this one makes more money, or maybe get married instead of investing in my own dreams and things like that. But in the Fool card, again, it talks about that we go on these journeys to learn these lessons, and we've got a lot of lessons to learn, and we do kind of like to stay in our comfort zone, you know? Um, and so we'll repeat certain patterns based on what our truth is. And if we haven't been more motivated and inspired to invest in ourselves and heal and grow and mature ourselves and love ourselves, again, we could kind of repeat that pattern of looking. And the King of Pentacles, because it's Capricorn energy and shadowy Capricorn's the devil, it's kind of like looking to the world, because the devil kind of represents the world in a way, that we look to other people to provide either that stability and security in our life, to love us, to invest in us, to validate our worth and value, because we haven't really done that, and that's high vibe Virgo. If we haven't learned to invest in ourselves, and um, we'll go on these journeys that kind of force us to. Because if we're kind of repeating a pattern because we're turning our back on the Four of Cups of taking that cup of love to love ourselves and have more love our own inner child nature, to believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams, to get more balanced within ourselves. Because the Page of Swords was Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, and they can represent those things. Again, and I think for the first 30, 50 years, you can be a loving person and motivated and inspired by love. But for the first 30 to 50 years, we're kind of tilted in favor of being pretty caught up in these things of the world that we want to manifest, because we want these certain things in our life. We want friendship. We want relationship. We want, if people want to get married and have kids. And because we have free will, when we make one decision versus a different decision, something is sacrificed. And sometimes we sacrificed emotionally investing in ourselves and growing and healing and maturing ourselves, because, we want these things. Again, we want friendship, we want relationship. And so sometimes, and we can certainly be attracted to people. And if they seem stable and grounded and mature, it's like, oh my goodness, that's the person I was looking for. And then we kind of go on that journey, and maybe the other people aren't really motivated by love, and maybe they're more defensive and defend their more worldly nature and being more about themselves and want other people to make it more about them. So, some situations didn't work out, and some people know, we all do. I can choose not to do love. I can kind of keep indulging my more immature nature. I can go repeat some old patterns. I could give up on that dream of love. Ah, I'll just go indulge myself in the world, or focus on my career, or focus on other things I want to go indulge in. I'm sure that'll make me happy. And that could be what some people are thinking of. And some people could even be thinking of, I don't know, maybe they let go of someone in their life that they felt they could have their dreams come into reality, but maybe they were ready to take that leap of faith to try to invest in their dream. Maybe the other person wasn't ready to do that. And so we were kind of not on the same page at the same time. And so, and there too, in our life, we're living our life, and, depending on where we're at and kind of what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into, and kind of what drives and motivates us, we could not pursue more friendship or relationship with certain people because we chose to invest in other people, right? And then when some of the things we did go invest in didn't work out, we could certainly think about some of the people that, maybe those people were more on the same page as me. And I just wasn't seeing it at that time, because basically the journey I needed to go on to learn lessons. And I think we will be drawn and attracted to people. It doesn't mean everybody that we're drawn and attracted to that we go get in relationships with, but I think we can be drawn and attracted to people because those are the people that could be the people to help us learn these lessons. It doesn't mean they're uh, aligned with our truth, but because it might repeat a pattern that we have unreconciled issues about. And so we can be drawn and attracted to people that they're not kind of aligned with our truth, but it's like a way for us to, a contrast in a way for us to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And there could be a lot of things we have in common with some of the people, but it's, if we look at it that it all can be used for good purposes, and there's valuable lessons to be learned in all of them. And when some people are going different ways because they have their dream and you have your dream, some of them really don't want to do love. Some of them are more immature, some of them are more about themselves, some of them are more materialistic. Everybody can kind of be sad because there could have been we could have been loving and encouraging people to each other to help us during a period of life where we kind of, in some ways, were on the same page at the same time, or we wouldn't have kept staying in relationship with them, right? But then, kind of maybe once we've kind of helped each other in a way, kind of grow and heal and mature together and work through some issues, then in the Two of Cups can kind of also talk about, in my dualistic nature, what is kind of my truth. Do the Two of Cups and Cancer energy, kind of what I love, is my truth. I kind of more love living life like this or being about these things. And do you kind of love this and kind of like making your life more about those things? And the truth can be, at the next segment here, we have the Seven of Wands, the Death card, and the Ten of Swords. And the reason is because of the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles is Capricorn energy again. And Capricorn energy can talk about what we view as being victorious and successful. And, we have our truth. And until something kind of major, drastic, could kind of happen in our life, we'll probably keep having that truth, right? We think and feel and view life a certain way. We think it's just and fair. It's really hard to change, kind of some core foundational truths that we have. If some people keep indulging being more about themselves or being more immature, or I don't want to do love because I'll get hurt, that's really hard to change. They probably came to those decisions due to some challenging things that happened in their life that made them choose that, or they just never grew up and matured themselves, right? But sometimes it can be just because of situations that happened in their life. So the Seven of Wands can talk about, the Seven of Wands defends the Six of Wands, both Leo energy, which can kind of be about our egoic nature, our more hopeful believing nature, and what motivates and inspires us and what we view as victorious and successful. Or we're sure that'll make us happy, or we're sure that's the smart idea, that's the way to go. And we'll all defend that. Sometimes, well, and we don't want, the Death card and the Ten of Swords can talk about, I don't want to put an end to this core foundational truth that I have of what motivates and inspires me, what I find victorious and successful, and who and what I want to invest my time, energy, and effort into. And if we're in a more mismatched and our truth isn't the same, what we view as victorious and successful and what drives and motivates us, eventually, and some people could be at that stage, could they like each other? Could there kind of be love for each other? Yeah, but we all do kind of like to hang out with people who are kind of motivated and inspired by the same things we are, right? And sometimes we wanted to be in a relationship, sometimes we wanted to be married, start a family. Maybe there wasn't people around who really seemed to be more on the same page as us, and then we could have met someone, and there was enough in common there, and liking each other and having some similar truths and things that kind of drive and motivate you, and hopefully some ways of viewing life and what you think is just and fair. And if some other relationships hadn't worked out, and you want to have this victory worth defending. Sometimes you move forward in those relationships, and some people are doing that right now. Sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition. I kind of view fire sign energy and water sign energy as kind of being more connected in with our emotions and our intuition, because here we have fire. Here we can have love that didn't work out, air sign energy and earth sign energy. And then we have truth and love and being inspired to defend truth and justice. And, it's kind of like our higher self or our intuition sometimes kind of was defensive to what we invested in. And then we could add people in our life who could have been kind of defensive to what we invested in, because they were kind of like, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think you're on the same page. But, everybody's got to go on these journeys to learn these lessons. And, we're fallible human beings. We're kind of driven by a lot of different things, and even things we don't really understand that have kind of, like, shit. You could be in a situation for like 10 or 20 years, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I realize I am repeating a pattern. And it's kind of like staying in my comfort zone. Probably because I wasn't bold and brave enough in high vibe Leo emotionally to stand up for myself. And I defended this way of looking at life or viewing life because I was afraid of detaching from it and believing in myself and standing up for myself and being more balanced within myself and believing I deserve love and that I deserve justice, because the King of Swords, Libra energy represented by the scales of justice, can kind of talk about those things. Well, if out of love for ourselves, we're willing to offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness to ourselves, that is the just and fair thing, because love, that's what love is. And you have to have love for yourself. And it's like, yep, I kind of went on some journeys. I learned some hard lessons. And part of it could have been because I hadn't learned to love myself. And I was kind of maybe codependent or immature. Maybe I was trying to change other people. Oh, look, there's someone who doesn't love themselves, is kind of immature. I'm going to go try to change them. And we're kind of not seeing the truth that they are the way they are, and they made the free will decision and kind of debated within themselves, and that's how they decide to live their life, and we should accept it. But sometimes we don't want to see the truth because we have love for people, and some of those people are our adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, romantic interest, and we love them, could be attracted to them, for some of those people, depending on who they are in our life. And we can invest and defend something that's dead for a long time in the Death card. And the Ten of Swords, people who keep showing us over and over, your truth isn't my truth. But hey, you want to keep defending this and stay in it? Hey, that works for me. I'll stay in a relationship with you. But they could keep showing us over and over, I'm not changing. It's kind of like, we get in relationships with people. They think we're going to change whatever ways we have or ways of viewing life, or we think they're going to change. But everybody has their core foundational truth. If they didn't think that was kind of just and fair in their own Libra energy, they wouldn't do it. And why should I change? People shouldn't have to change. God gave them free will. But we can get in these more mismatched relationships and we don't see it's probably not two cards of like the word not. This isn't a balanced relationship. You do have different truths. You both are going to defend your truth, and probably nobody's going to give up their truth because you have these core foundational ways of viewing life and what you think is just and fair and what drives and motivates you. And so they can end. Now, with some of the friendships or relationships that we've been in, it wasn't a more mismatched relationship. We could have different dreams at different times in our life of kind of what we wanted to invest time and energy and effort into. Um, One person wanted to move forward, maybe to move forward in a way they thought was victorious and successful, and the other person's like, yeah, I don't think I'm ready to do that yet. And they could go do what they wanted to go do, and maybe they felt like they, male or female, whether it was going to school or investing, taking care of their family, or if they had children, or going to college, one person could be more like, well, I think we can do a balance of both. And the other person's like, no, 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 I can't do a balance of both, and I got to do this or something, and sometimes some people, you just live your life, but there might be a time where if people were to go separate ways, one person kind of went on their journey, you went on your journey. And this also is equally happening with people we don't even know, right? Because some of the things that have happened to us and how we think and how we feel, and that's other people in the world too, right? And so with people we've known and with people we don't even know, eventually we could kind of lines up maybe that we're in the same place at the same time. Either if it was someone we knew, someone was willing to communicate with someone, something I was pursuing didn't work out. Um, and the pages can just be, a small gesture of communicating with people. And just like we could reach out to someone we do know, as we're moving forward, we're also getting to know other people, right? And it's just that gesture of willing to take that leap of faith to kind of get to know people and, kind of seeing who we're kind of more on the same page with, who are we not. And if there was some people that you could have communicated with and they're like, no, I'm doing this, I'm either moving forward that way or I'm doing that. Sometimes we don't really know because we didn't get to communicate with them enough to know where they're at in their life right now. So we don't know if they're more high vibe, more worldly, more shadowy. But we do know that if they are going on a journey with someone else and not, going on a journey with us, well, that didn't work out. So people can be kind of sad because you kind of thought maybe you would be on the same page. And everybody can be sad in that kind of situation too. The Four of Cups talks about that there could be people we did have a dream that we wanted to come into reality with them at one point in time. But then if it didn't work out and we kind of move forward in our life, maybe we've moved forward with some other people. And then that in the Four of Cups is kind of like a missed opportunity. But, you don't want to take action more out of pride or ego or lust or greed and sabotage a relationship. Some people will do that. And you might know some people who've done that. And, really another interesting way this plays out sometimes is that we kind of could have been on the same page at one point in time in our life, and then something doesn't work out for someone and they communicate with someone else so that they maybe knew. And again, it could be with people that they're meeting. But if some people kind of communicate their truth that, I did kind of grow and heal and mature myself, and I've gotten balance within myself, and I don't have an interest in repeating some of these old patterns, and I'm looking to move forward. And the Death card and the Ten of Swords can be closing out a cycle. because again, we'll kind of have this way of living life, viewing life, repeat some old patterns until we've kind of learned the lesson we were meant to learn. And then we want to move forward differently. Just like if we knew people, say, when we were 18 to 25, but then we're like 35 and 45, and we reach out to some people or run into them again, some people have really kind of grown up and matured themselves, and some people seem somewhere either the same or somewhere else in the process of healing and growing and maturing themselves. And there could be some people who would be like, damn, I'd really like to be in a relationship with you, but I don't want to move forward the way, now we're not on the same page. You know, while I was off on my journey, I could have kind of defended non life giving energy, and I didn't kind of grow and heal and mature myself because I thought that was just and fair. And you stood up for yourself and you detach from an old way of living life, and you've closed out a chapter and you've kind of popped out on the other side, you know, different. And as you move forward in your life, just like everybody else is moving forward, you're there's always going to be more shadowy people in the world. It's a fact of life because you have free will. What is your truth? More shadowy people will try to manipulate you with their words, even could say, oh my gosh, I feel like I missed an opportunity with you, and oh my gosh, blah, 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 whatever. The thing is, hopefully, if you've learned these lessons in life, you have learned, even though you are kind of tempted maybe by some people, to stand up for your own hopeful, believing, loving nature and listen to your intuition, not jump into something, maybe just because you'd like to be in something, but to take action, maintain balance and truth and love to stand up for yourself because you don't want this to be your future in a shadowy way. I do not want to move forward in something defending something that is shadowy in the Death card and the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords is Gemini, about our dualistic nature, and the Death card in Scorpio is where it's more emotionally shallow, superficial, immature, bossy, controlling, feeling backstabbed, feeling betrayed, or nobody's moving forward with me until I know that they have detached from an old cycle, that in their Gemini energy, they're more motivated by truth and love and justice and fairness. And kind of just how you live your life and how, what you say, and maintaining balance within yourself, not taking impulsive, reckless action, not indulging people, not chasing after people, maybe, things like that. They get a gist of where you're at. And some of those people would be like, yeah, no, you can go. That's not my truth. um, Other people, and sometimes we have to realize if there's people in our life, and maybe some of the people you already have been in relationship with, they didn't like that you wanted to close out a cycle and had grown up and matured yourself and standing up for yourself, male or female, for it to be a more just and fair and balanced relationship, and that you have your own dreams and aspirations and things you want to invest in. And some people don't like that because they like you to make it just, you're supposed to sacrifice that. You're supposed to make it all more about me. Or what? You want to move forward a little differently? You want me to detach from some way of living life or viewing life or being immature or not dealing with my past pain and heartbreak or living more from my mind than my heart? No way, man. So they kind of defend something that isn't life-giving it isn't conducive to giving birth to new things. They've probably completed and kind of learned everything they needed to learn there too, but they don't want to do things differently. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. That's scary. I want to keep doing what we've been doing. And so then you feel like things are dead, that like nothing's ever going to change. But again, some people have a lot of fear of change, have a lot of fear in maybe if some people were to move forward in life a little differently, they would have to be willing to, because again, the masculine cards, whether people are male or female, is the action that people are taking. And maybe they'd have to speak their truth to some people in their life, stand up for themselves. Maybe they have people who try to manipulate them or control them or want them to be more codependent on them, or you should live your life like we live our life, and you shouldn't be more independent, and you shouldn't stand up for yourself. Shame on you. You know, in High Vibe, the death card talks about death and transformation. When we quit being more like an 18 and 20-year-old to face our fears to be more like a 21-year-old, and we put away our more childish ways of being, we went through a death and transformation process. I am not going to keep repeating in the Four of Pentacles that old pattern that I was clinging to at one time or living my life like that. I learned the lesson I was meant to learn, and if we add the one pentacle to the Four Pentacles, then we have the Five of Pentacles, which is Taurus energy, moving forward. So all three are signs kind of implied in the reading. And that's kind of what life is about. It's about going on these adventures, investing in things we think are just and fair, not all of them, which is Scorpio energy, kind of emotionally going, exploring life emotionally. Not everything is going to work out the way we want, and that's going to hurt us. But we keep not giving up on believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams. We just see where our dreams and what things we can't keep investing in because it kind of stops us from moving forward and growing up and being more independent and facing our fears. And if we want to get the justice we deserve, we have to see what things need to go. Habits, patterns, vices, people. And it can be hard, but you know, we have this dualistic nature and we have these different people in our life that we kind of have a commonality with some of them from this more worldly nature. Lust, greed, pride, ego, things we like to go indulge in, family. And then we have other people in our life who might more align with us, more aligned with our hopeful, believing, loving nature. And again, all these different people in our life, we can, if they're willing, we can still be in friendship and relationship with them. It just wouldn't be, because kind of like, just like how with our family, you know, eventually we kind of spread our wings and fly and we become independent of our parents to go on our own journey and learn to love ourselves and find the people we want to be in relationship with. And then those people become our primary foundation. It doesn't mean we don't still love our family of origin, but that had its time and place. And now the people that we're going to try to build a relationship and a family with, they become our primary foundation. And there's definitely some people in the world, like their original family doesn't like that. You can go indulge in a relationship with those people, but those people are always a third party. And sometimes people have friendship groups like that too. And that can be where other people try to manipulate people. Well, if you go do that and prioritize your husband or your wife or your kids and don't make us, they're kind of immature and they're more codependent. And then they want other people to be in that energy too. That if we tell you we don't like those people, you're supposed to be more loyal to us. It's like, what if these are the people I love and who motivate and inspire me to stand up for myself and love myself and heal and grow and mature myself, and they're not trying to manipulate me or something, you know? Um, and it can go both ways. Sometimes, it's just to see the truth. Who are the people who offer us truth and love, being authentic, aren't trying to manipulate and control us, aren't maybe trying to use the love that we have for them or things of the world, or that'll hurt your ego, it'll hurt your image, it'll hurt your status, and try to make that the most important thing, or tempt us with things of the world. Who's offering us truth and love? Because truth and love will transform our life. But we have to have some hope and faith and belief in ourselves, and some people don't. Some people don't have hope and faith and belief they can manifest their dreams into reality. They reject their intuitive, creative, inspired nature, ignore their intuition. Nope, I know best. Well, pride comes before the fall, thinking we're so smart. And some people are quite shadowy. It's like kind of more just social climbing. I'm going to learn what I need to learn so long as that works good for me and looks good for my ego and my image. And then if it gets to a point where those people want me to be more just and fair or grow up and mature myself, I'm going to go take my show on the road. And now that I kind of look like I'm a more stable, grounded, mature person than I maybe did before, maybe I can go find someone else to get in a relationship, or someone else whose dream didn't come into reality, or someone else who's sad, or someone else who's naive and gullible and doesn't know there's shadowy people like me in the world who try to take advantage of loving people. They learned that lesson a long time ago. Loving people are suckers. And by golly, they're not going to be one of them. But since somebody's going to manipulate those loving people, it might as well be them. And we all had to learn these lessons to learn Virgo energy, about learning what is hidden in the dark. And some people in their Gemini nature of themselves, they are shadowy and they are prideful and they are selfish and they're materialistic, and think though that try to shadowy Libra energy, which anybody can harness, can be people who again try to present this illusion in the world about the type of person they are. It's like they're public politician persona, people pleaser, so everybody views them, and they put a lot of work and effort maybe so everybody views them a certain way, but they are not. It's all operating from ego and from their mind. It's all to create this illusion so that people will get in a relationship, stay in a relationship, and then they play on people's want for stability or security or to be in a relationship. But once they think they've got someone in the relationship where the person won't want to end it, like this looks victorious and successful, and you've kind of not involved yourself with other people, and you've invested in this. Oh, well, now I think I can go do these kind of foolish, immature things. I think you won't love and believe in yourself. I'm going to go do that, and you stay here. You stay here being in your ego, not willing to detach from me to go get the justice you deserve. That works. And I'm going to go do this. You stay there. It's like shadowy people trying to manipulate your more hopeful, believing, loving nature so they can abuse you. And that's when people have to align with a higher truth and justice, stand up for themselves. This isn't just and fair. This isn't acting with character and integrity. This is immature. This is hurtful. This is unkind. This is unjust. You're being selfish. You're being manipulative. You're being immature. And all of those things, it takes time to work through it. But as you work through it, 2 cards kind of about emotions and getting out of your ego about it, not letting your ego or your want for something to work out to cloud your judgment, to deal with the truth. The truth sets you free. you're not who I thought you were. And it can be hard. People could have been who you thought they were, but people can kind of drift their life off into the ditch. They get caught up, full of themselves, prideful, spoiled. And some people just weren't showing you the truth of who they were. And sometimes, again, they could have seemed like just, fair, loving, nurturing people, but maybe they didn't view you as being very stable or grounded or balanced or mature when they got in a relationship with you, that you were more codependent, and you could have been. And you had some growing up and maturing to do. Well, what if during the course of the relationship you did? And now you're kind of over here, you completed a cycle, but they didn't, they might still be at like the cusp of being able to go to the next phase if they were willing to kind of get out of their ego. But sometimes that can trigger people in their ego and their competitive nature. How the hell did you go from this to that? And they didn't, and they still have. It's kind of like, how did you free yourself from things that manipulated you? And I still have some of these things that manipulate me. When they, of course, think they're the more stable, grounded, emotionally mature person, which they could have been. But, you did the work to take that leap of faith to love yourself, and you aligned with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and you did that work to work through those things that you had hidden in the dark. You offered truth and love to them to let them go, to not let them keep manipulating you. Everybody has free will. You've changed. Other people have changed. Some people didn't change. But you can change. And you did. And that's when some people kind of get in their ego. And they don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore because it would require them to do that work. Well, how dare you think that I need to change? And some of those people were more immature than you realized and more codependent, don't want to become free of things that manipulate them. So some of them decided, you can go, I'm going to go find someone else. And it could have been, you know, you could have kind of felt backstabbed and betrayed because you could have even done some of that work and effort within yourself, thinking in high vibe Leo, they'd be proud of you. Look, I grew up, look, and then you get backstabbed for it. But the divine is saying, I think, that you'll get justice because you did do the work to grow up and mature yourself. And you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. So you get to go to the next phase of life, which is justice. Like you graduated, to face your fears to go to the next stage of life. And they're going to go repeat an old pattern. And they'll keep repeating that one until they're willing to see the truth of some things that manipulate them and where they might need to heal and grow and mature themselves or love themselves. And they may never do it. So, we can offer truth and love to people, but when people show us over and over or whatever, that's not my truth. It's like, I wish you peace. I'm going to offer truth and love to the situation, but I'm going to stand up for my truth, and I am closing out a cycle. And if there's anybody in my life that is on that page with me, and if there's some people who I hadn't kind of been in a relationship with, but have communicated with, and they're like, yeah, we should reconnect. Well, then it would be a death to an ending, and people want to hold on to each other because they realize they're back on the same page again or something, But probably only with people that we would feel they're being authentic, they're being truthful, they're balanced, they've matured. And the people who try to present themselves as being that type of person, and our intuition is like, Yeah, no, I think you're still wearing a false mask, or you wear a false mask like some other people I've known in my life. No, thank you. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Virgo energy that they might not see coming? Yeah, high vibe people have learned to listen to their intuition about people who are more manipulative, egotistical, full of themselves, kind of bossy, controlling, kind of their way or the highway, superficial, shallow, hurtful, unkind, don't want to open up and be open to love, act like a private detective in a relationship. That can be shadowy Scorpio. I want to get to the truth, but instead of communicating with the people in love to work through something to find out the truth, I'm going to act like a private detective. Yeah, that's kind of the more foolish, immature way of going about things. And that could be some people who don't love and believe in themselves enough and they end up sabotaging their own relationships. But they think it's just and fair to do it. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Virgo? I wish I knew how to shuffle like some other people where they kind of like slam the cards into their hands or fingers. I have tried to figure out how to do it and I can't, but I think that makes a lot of cards fly, but I don't know how to do it. So, what's coming up for High Vibe Virgo? Ah, there we go. The Seven of Cups. Why? Because of the Ace of Cups and the Knight of Cups. So, because high vibe people offer love to themselves and the situation, and they stay in that energy of love, it helps them be able to move forward because they're not staying in bitterness and anger and in their ego, which certainly, when some things don't work out, and for some people, it could have been that they lost someone, maybe someone passed away. The death card, it just kind of makes me think of the grieving process. The grieving process we'd have to do with someone who we loved who passed away. And for some people, it's like the person we knew kind of doesn't exist anymore because it's like a different persona or aspect of their personality is kind of running their life right now. So, but continuing to offer love to yourself and the situation helps free you because the truth is love. Love will help free you from things that aren't just and fair and help you see the truth. To see through the illusion, the Seven of Cups is also Scorpio energy. It's emotionally confusing when people who we thought were going to move forward with us don't. And again, maybe, everybody should live their truth. And like I mentioned, it's not like just everybody's shadowy who doesn't want to be in a relationship with us. And some of the people, there could be people right now that have kind of been moving forward with something. And then they're like, wait a minute, my intuition is telling me I better hold back. I know a lot of this seems like it would make logical, practical sense. And you tell me, or the impression is, that's again, listening to our intuition. And then we take this step back to invest in ourselves. We put that on hold while we do this work to really think about what our truth is, why we're taking the action we're taking, why those people are taking the action they're taking. And then out of love, we speak our truth. Like, I don't think I can keep moving forward in this job or in this friendship or this relationship. And we let those people go, and sometimes we're the ones that it's like, I can't keep doing this. And they're like, but I can't do that. It's like, out of love, I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me who doesn't want to be in a relationship with me. And hopefully some other people would think, I don't really want someone to be in a relationship with me that doesn't want to be in a relationship with me. And then in the Seven of Cups, offering to get to the seven, 1 cup plus 1 cup, plus 5 cups will get us to the Seven of Cups. And the 4 cups plus the one, well, actually, that's 2 of Cups, gets us to the 6. But in between here, we had the 5 of Cups. And when we align with truth and love and are inspired to get the justice we deserve, maintain balance within ourselves, treat other people the way we like to be treated, if that's not their truth, we kind of see through the illusion. And the 7 of Cups, I kind of view it as making peace with the past so that you can let it go and move forward and have these new beginnings. And that's what some of the high vibe people did. It's like, I wish you peace. Hope it works out for you. But the people that are shadowy, their life is either going to be the way it is. And it's kind of like, if that's the way you like living your life and doing that for like the rest of your life, I already know what kind of person you are and how you act or behave. And I didn't enjoy it. So I left. But if you want to keep doing that, you can. And anybody else who wants to do it with you. I kind of got clear on my truth that I didn't like it. So, and if they're more shadowy, there's going to be repercussions if they're being manipulative or whatever. It's probably not, they're not going to, they could have a life that by worldly standards looks just and fair, but they might find someone else who's willing to defend them, and that person has their free will. If that's how they want to live their life, they can. You weren't. And this person is probably exactly the same way as they were at the last job or relationship, It's like, well, I hope you enjoy the illusion, but I'm moving on. And then the 7 plus the 2 cups gets you to the 9 of Cups of Pisces energy, getting balanced within yourself, because the opposite sign of Virgo on the wheel is Pisces. And we move forward best when we're balanced. And the 9 of Cups in Pisces is being independent. I am offered myself those cups of love to become independent of a situation that wasn't aligned with my truth anymore. What's coming up? And the 7 of Cups could be new beginnings. And as you keep moving forward in that energy and you quit investing your time, energy, and effort into people who aren't interested in moving forward this way, it opens you up to go meet people who are. If some of those people didn't want to do truth and love and be just and fair, there might be other people that got out of those things that are sitting here in this energy. Like, is anybody going to come that's more just and fair and loving, or do I have to go somewhere else because there's nobody here like that? And then you could come up the path of life. And as you're moving forward, you could go through a phase of being in this energy, and either someone will come up the path of life and it'll be like, here's some people I can have justice with. More emotionally mature people or something. People who are who they say they are. Not creating an illusion. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy, no, Virgo energy, that they might not see coming? The Death card. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands and the 5 of Wands. So 2 cards of Leo energy. The shadowy people, when you're in shadowy energy, you're not balanced. You're not being more authentic and loving and just and fair. You haven't gotten out of and put an end to your ego nature. Shadowy Leo energy. So they kind of get in their ego, and that makes them kind of competitive. And they might just be competitive in the world. I want to have a certain status and image in the world. I want people to view me a certain way. I need to go take some action, because that's more what drives and motivates them, could be their ego. And on top of it, in shadowy Scorpio, again, of the death card, they could be more a death to harnessing this energy in a high vibe way, to take more inspired action in their life. And they're like, nope, I don't want to change, because the fives talk about change. I want to keep doing this. And at any time in their life, they're going to have more high vibe people in their life. That's the thing that they don't get. Some of the shadowy people go get in relationships with other people who are kind of shadowy. But everybody's supposed to be willing to change. But just like they weren't kind of willing, it got to a point where it's like, well, no, that kind of deals with a fundamental truth that I'm kind of defensive about seeing the truth of. Well, then they go get in relationships with other people who might be, they had an opportunity to move forward with people who had their best interest at heart, were willing to work together with them in a just and fair way, but wanted them to see that there was something that kind of needed to change on their part. And they were like, not me. I don't need to change. Well, then they go get in relationships thinking they'll find someone else, and the same scenario plays out again. Where, some of those people might go through the same thing, and it's like, there seems to be this issue that something, and it's like, nope, I'm not willing to change it. So then another job or relationship ends, and they go back and do it again. And that'll keep, but it's like they keep expecting other people always to be willing to change, but not them. And then they only want them to change so far, only so it stays in their like comfort zone in a way. Don't get more balanced, don't get more helpful in believing, don't become more independent. We have to live a life more about conforming to the world and our ego. Don't, because shadowy energy can just be more conforming to the world, making your life, kind of not living your more authentic truth because people won't like it. So, like, you're not playing the game and, kissing people's ass or something like that. Eventually, they're probably going to be in relationships with people who are just more like them. Or they'll have people who don't want to be in a relationship with them. But if they do have people in a relationship with them, it might be other people who also aren't inspired to change, aren't inspired to be more just and fair. Everybody's kind of defensive and defends their more prideful, defensive, immature, bossy, controlling, manipulative, whatever ways of doing that they kind of indulge themselves that they think are just and fair. But they might stay in it and defend it, because if the most important thing is if that person isn't willing, doesn't want to leave, and by worldly standards it looks just and fair, that can be the most important thing. This looks victorious and successful. You're not going to leave, right? And you are tolerable. We get along maybe well enough. Might be conflict and fighting, and I might not even like you, and you might not even like me, but we all wear a good mask when we go out in the world or whatever. Just fair, emotionally mature, inspiring, loving relationship we have. And maybe there won't be anybody else who wants to be in a relationship with them anyway. So they will stay in it. But a risk of being in a more shadowy relationship, it's not built on love. Well, why are you in it? Well, because of these reasons of the world. Well, what if someone else comes along who might be more defensive and more willing to indulge someone in a relationship? Well, I think I'll go get in a relationship with them. What if you meet someone who seems to have more justice, more status, more image, more attractive, more social clout? Well, it really is just more about me. See ya. I'm going to leave because that would be more beneficial to me. Because if that's the only reason you're in it, is for more how it benefits you. And then they'll be like, what? And again, it can be the people who thought, I don't have to change. There'll be other people who want to be in a relationship with me or something. Well, they might not find it so easy to find someone who is motivated and inspired to keep, that authentically has love for them, and would be willing to keep being in a relationship with them if they were willing to compromise and temper their ego or some of their shadowy ways of being. That they had the free will to do that, and they took the risk to be shadowy or manipulative. And the other people saw the truth of it. That's not love. They stood up for themselves, and that could have ended that cycle. And they could be sad like, shit, I didn't think they'd stand up for themselves. I didn't think they'd call me out on it. And they ended up a relationship ended with someone that could have transformed their whole life. But, you'd also have, if you made some foolish mistakes, you could look at the page as willing to humble yourself to admit, I had growing up and maturing to do. I was immature. High vibe people are willing to do that, but some other people aren't willing to do that. Most important thing is their pride and their ego and their image, and they're not going to admit that they were a fallible human being like the rest of us who made a mistake. Well, there might be some hell to pay for their prideful nature, because pride comes before the fall. So there you go, Virgo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.